Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining. Who are joining today. I hope you will have a wonderful session today with us. And to kickstart with this, first, all about us. So about Synapse QA. So learn, share, and grow together. So our vision is towards building a bridge of relationship between the person who are like feeling unstranded, like feeling lost somewhere. We're just trying to build them using a community together, and we're just trying to redefine the definition like of creativity, like not the usual methods of conveying your knowledge to the community, and it's more of community driven and a completely free platform. And this is also few pointers to explain more about this. Okay, this is completely free. Wherever you feel stranded or you feel lost, if you're searching for some kind of partner to help you in your professional career, we are always here. And from March 2020, it's been like we have totally 30 plus people are being joined as part of Synapse family. And we are creating more of the curated contents for you, so that you don't want to go anywhere and search and all those stuff. So we'll take accountability for that, and we are trying to redefine the creativity, but not by the usual ways, by defining by doing some interesting and out of box thinking platforms to help you out, so that the community can benefit better. And we have hosted so far two global events and one meetup, and we did a parallel learning series. Of course, I believe everyone is all aware about it. It's all about Postman and karate. It's a kind of same scenario. We just try to give an example for the users parallelly, so that they can try to understand how each application is behaving for a same scenario or a same problem statement. And Teller of Tales blogcast we have, and we have study notes. That is also a very unique concept which we would always tell, like where the synapses are trying to understand a new tool or technology, and they're just trying to share kind of handwritten notes which will be very helpful for the beginners to understand what is the system or what that technology or tool is all about. And of course, we always believe in the existence of community, right? So we have partnered with other communities for total of five global testing conferences. So this is pretty much all about our introduction. And this part, of course, you all know, you might have seen enough information in LinkedIn before. So first one is all about Super Reads 2021. It's of course in a kind of crucial part, we would say. So the contest is over, like the participants have already submitted their all their blogs, and the review panel have selected the top 12 articles. And when coming about the webinar anthology, you all know that it's a tailor-made webinar series where we are trying to deliver very interesting and new topics which is already not available in online, and from the very global and most of the very first time speakers as well, which where we are proud to have them with Synapse first. And so about the timelines, and for 12th of December, that is the date where we released the top 12 articles, and you can share or you can go and read all the articles from the Super Reads launch, and we definitely appreciate all your feedback and all your responses over there. And the 1st of January, among all those 12 articles, we will get to know who's the winner, and the winner announcements will be done on 1st of January 2022. So this is all about the timelines, and of course, yeah, about today's topic. Today you're in the Sparks ninth session, okay, and the headlines are like reimagining data pipelines, and we are going to have a wonderful speaker who is like Srinivas Deshmukh to talk about him. Like he is a developer, and he have a different expertise, like wherein he have developed many applications, starting with big data, cloud, and all those, even blockchain. So he has a wide variety of experience from many different domains, and he is a very active open source community contributor as well. And it's really proud to have him here for a very interesting topic. And even I'm so like excited as you all to hear like what he's going to talk about in today's session. And that's all. And I don't want to extend much. And Srinivas, we are so glad to have you here, and I'll just hand it over to you.
Thank you so much, Priscilla. Thank you for the wonderful introduction. I hope I live up to the introduction for the session. So yeah, to begin with, first of all, thanks for attending today's session. As Priscilla said, my name is Srinivas. I work with Palo IT as a consultant right now, as a data engineer. I have a diverse technical background and I've built applications ranging from big data to blockchain. And I'm also an open source contributor, and I have a few libraries of my own, one of which I'm going to be demoing in this session. And I'm also looking for contributors for my libraries. So anybody who wants to contribute are open. So let's begin with the session. I'll try to keep it simple and engaging. Let me share my screen. Yeah. So as the title suggests, as the title refers to, it's about reimagining data pipelines. It also serves a larger purpose, not so much philosophical, but practical. So let's get started. Just to give a brief on the agenda. So we are trying to look at what problems I have encountered through in my little experience as a data professional, and what is the proposed solution that I'm looking at right now, and then we'll move on to the question answers if there are any. So these are the resources. I'll share the link of this presentation in the chat screen. You can access all the codes and demos, whatever you go through in this session, through these links. So coming to the problems, so a typical problem in the data field, when we look at from a high level, is that we have, when we talk about data, we have these two distinct teams consisting of data engineers, one team, and data scientists. So the problem is that the developers from these two teams, they lack cohesion. There's a lot of miscommunication, for the lack of better word, between data scientists and data engineers. This lack of communication might be due to less modernization or modularity in the way things are structured, or it may be due to the fact that their business or the way they work is different. There are no standard operating procedures for data engineers and data scientists to work together, so on and so forth. One of the major reasons I feel is also that there's a very heavy dependency on the tools. So in any traditional data pipelines, we have whole exhaustive list of tools. We hear all those fancy names like Kafka, Airflow, and all those fancy big fancy tools. But when the application becomes too much tool driven, the application itself loses its flexibility, and these tools, they end up restricting the inclusion of certain features in our data pipelines. And most of the time, the architecture is very over engineered, the architecture which is used to build the data platforms, which makes it nearly impossible for us to add any new tool and add any incorporate any features of that new tool, or to migrate to some other tool for that matter. So these are the problems I'm going to address in this particular session. So moving on, what I proposed, or so this proposed solution is coming from the experience that I have had with building data platforms and data pipelines. So this is what we do at a company as well. Whenever we go to any client to build data platforms for them, these are the practices that we tend to follow, that we kind of follow. So the first point is that we focus more on the transformations. So if you're aware of the ETL process, ETL or ELT process, the T in that ETL or ELT word, it stands for transformations. Transformations are essentially just a way to massage your data. Your data is many a times not very much structured, or it has some missing values, or it has some wrong data types assigned to specific columns and all those things. So to massage this data, or to bring this data into a consistent format, we use these transformations. These transformations could be anything ranging from joining two tables in a database, to maybe grouping them, or summing and aggregating, and basically whatever you might think of when it comes to data, all those things are basically transformations. So what we tend to do is we focus more on the transformations rather than the pipeline as a whole. and each transformation can be written using whichever tool or framework best suits the use case. That's point number one. Point number two is that the usability of these transformations. So traditionally, what we do is we submit these transformations to some computation frameworks, like Apache Spark is a good example of that. So what we tend to do is we can we can write these transformations and expose these transformations in the form of HTTP REST HTTP APIs. One biggest advantage of this is that it enables other teams as well to build data products on top of these data APIs. So we, as a team of data engineers, we create some policies around data, some code around the data. We expose it in the form of HTTP APIs. Any team who wants to do anything with the data, they can simply plug those APIs into their application, and they can build whatever products they want to build. So this also helps in reducing or increasing the communication or the flexibility of using data APIs into for building products across the organization and for clients and for customers as well. Point number four is that rather than designing the pipeline or the data platform as a whole, we should concentrate more on the transformations, because keeping the core layer separate from the external communication layer is very essential, especially when it comes to exposing your transformations in the form of REST APIs. So these are four crucial points that we focus on while building data platforms or data pipelines for our clients. So I'll quickly move on to the demo. So just to give a brief background of what the demo is going to be about. So I've created a small repository. So what I'm going to be demoing is an application wherein everything will be decided by a YAML file. You write what you want to do. You write all your transformations in a small YAML file. You submit that file, and all the transformations are run on the fly without you having to edit a single piece of code. What this also gives you is flexibility to edit just the part of your code that you want to edit, instead of changing one line out of a big thousand line of code and then redeploying the whole thing. So this is just a starting or an entry point to what we do as consultants at Palo. So just to give you a brief look at the structure. So as I was talking in the previous slide, right, we should keep our core layer and our HTTP layer separate. So over here, you could see these two folders. First is core and API. So all your business logic goes into the core, where you have your transformers, where you have your extractors, and all those things that you basically have, which are basically necessary to play around with the data. So extractors are basically utilities which go to some place and fetch data. It could be databases. It could be some files. It could be some cloud storage or anything. The transformers are basically what is going to massage your data, the code that is going to massage your data and bring it into a consistent format. That's what the transformers are going to be about. Then you have the YAML file that I was talking about. So if you look at the YAML file, it's very simple. So what you do in this YAML is you define a structure. Now this structure is for the databases where you'll extract the data from. So in this case, I have these two tables, authors and posts. This whole demo is around a bookstore. So in bookstore, we have an online bookstore, say for example. So we have posts and we have authors. So these are the two tables we'll look at in this particular demo. What transformations we need to do is, first of all, we need to extract the data from database. So that's where reader comes into picture. After extracting the data, we need to play around with the data. That's where transformations come into play. And in the end, we need to tell our code in what order to run these transformations. So if you see in this particular section, we have these two transformations. We have join and we have writer. The purpose of join is to take data from for two tables, in our case, authors table and posts table, join those data points, stitch those data points together. And the second transformation, writer, is basically doing the purpose of writing the output of join to some file. Now, instead of file, it could be anything. It could be another database. It could be another S3 storage or GCS storage or whatever we want it to be. So these are the two transformations. The last section in this YAML file is the order in which we need to execute these transformations. Do we need to write it first and then join, or do we need to join it first and then write? So we have these the order of these transformations. So this is just a basic YAML file using which will dictate basically how our code is going to flow. Uh, any any questions so far? Let me. Okay, I think we are good so far. So I'll just quickly go ahead and run the demo. So what's going to happen here is essentially, um, I'm going to start a web server. I'm going to show a Swagger UI. On that Swagger UI, I'm going to submit the YAML file that we just saw, and the output of which will be sent back to Swagger. Just let me know if you have any questions or if I'm going too fast. Do I need to slow down? Am I going too fast?
It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
Straight. Please proceed. We are waiting for the demo.
Okay. Okay. So as you can see, I have a post HTTP method which is run. So what's going to happen here is we're going to submit the YAML file. We're going to click execute. After that, what's going to happen is these transformations that we just saw, the join and writer, these will be run in this specified order, and in the end, we'll get the massage data, the end output of the data. Now, this data, the downstream team for this data are basically the data scientists. So how this is going to help the data scientists is that now they have a uniform URL which they can use to sort of clean the data, to play around with the data, and yeah, just basically get all their data science algorithms as a product. Get their data science product out there in the market in the form of a product. The URL that I'm entering here is basically the URL of MySQL database that I have running on my local machine. So when I execute this, I'm getting a message true. Now again, going back to the YAML file. So if we take a close look at the writer transformation, what I have here is output path. What this insinuates is what this means is where do we want the output to be written. So if you see here, it's output slash bookstore.json, right? So let's see what the output of this file is. So we have a bookstore.json file here. So this is the final output that any data scientist or anybody in the organization who wants to build a data product would get at the end of the day. What they essentially need to do is write this YAML file, which is very neat and clean. The format is very easy to understand and easy to write. So now that we have the output, let's look at how was this output derived. So if we take a look at again these transformations one by one. So the first transformation is join. So we want to join a table called authors. We want to join it with post table. We want to join based on these columns, which are basically author ID and ID, and we want to do a left join. So this particular section embeds an entire SQL query. This particular section is basically a big 12 to 15 lines of SQL query in itself. So first we do the join, then we write the output of the join to bookstore.json file. That's basically it. And in order to do so, you don't have to write any code, you don't have to write any SQLs, you don't have to write big, huge data pipelines or anything, nothing. Basically, that's this YAML file is basically it. You're removing the dependencies of creating the databases on your own, writing big data pipelines, spinning up the infrastructure and all those things. You're basically abstracting all those dependencies from anybody who wants to build any data product. So this YAML file is just good enough for you to get started and build the data products by yourself. So this was regarding the first part of the demo. Do we have any questions? Okay, I think there is one question. Do you have any good resources to learn YAML? Okay, so YAML is just another format like a text file or a CSV file. We can write whatever we want to in a YAML file. Is just that so the format I am using right in this demo. So this format is is a self-created format. So all these keywords that you're seeing, these source, tables, authors, posts, reader, transformations, order. These are basically my arbitrary terms that I'm using to write this particular YAML. So it's an open format. If we take another example of say a Docker file, right, a Docker Compose YAML. So in here, these keywords, version, services, these are the keywords which are defined by Docker. So we can use this YAML files to define our own syntax. And yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think, yeah, Srinivas, we can proceed.
Okay. So moving to the second part of my demo. So I'm going to show you a tool that I've created. It's a utility called Alchemy Model Gen. It's also based on the usage of YAML files. So what this utility is supposed to do is, so we all have created databases at some or the other time in our careers, right? We all have we all have wrote those SQL statements where we to create table statements, see task statements, or alter table statements, alter table set or update column statements. We all have done that. So what this utility does is that it takes away the effort of writing SQLs or coming up with SQLs by yourself, and it puts that load on again to the YAML files. So instead of writing SQLs or knowing the SQL syntax, you just follow a simple YAML file. You submit that YAML file to Alchemy Model Gen, and all things are taken care of implicitly by Model Gen itself. So just to give you a brief introduction of or a brief idea of what I'm talking about. So let's say we have this YAML file. We have two tables named user info and orders. So these are the columns of user info table. We have user ID, we have first name, we have last name, date of birth, contact, and address. Now each of these columns have their data type associated with it. So in case of user ID, it's integer. In case of first name, it's varchar, so on and so forth. Order table also follows a similar kind of structure. We have columns. Each column has its name and its type and what the length of that particular column is, and those kind of things. So what we are going to do is using just this structure, we'll create these tables automatically in the database using Model Gen. So let's get into the demo right away. So let's start by creating a new database. Let's call that database as Sparks 09. So as you can see, we don't have any tables created over here. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna activate the Synapse environment because that's where my library is residing. So to install the library, I'll just issue the command pip install Alchemy Model Gen. Oh, I think there's a spelling mistake there. Okay, now that we have the library installed, this library can be used in the form of a command line. So the command line over here is model gen. So if I just do model gen help, okay, there's a spelling mistake again there. So if we do model gen help, we could see two big commands, which are init and create model. So init is so when we issue the init command, model gen creates a folder, and all of the data pertaining to your databases resides in that folder. This folder is this folder is basically something that you could identify with. So let's say I do Alchemy Model Gen init. -d is the directive after which you give your folder name. So let's say I give it as spark09. So we have spark09 folder created now, with all the files required by Model Gen already pre-populated in the folder. So if I just do a cd into model into sparks09, and if I do lsl, you could see these few files. So if I just take a quick look in the templates folder, we already have an example YAML file. This example YAML file is the one which we saw earlier on GitHub. So if I just do templates example YAML, yeah, so we have a user table and we have a meta table. We basically have two tables with some dummy structure already pre-populated over here. So for example, user table, we have ID, we have first name, last name. For meta table, we have meta ID, address, contact, and these details. So the first order of business after having this YAML file ready with us is to create a model file. Now these model files um, are a translation. This translation is from YAML to Python. So using these YAML files, we'll be creating Python model files, and using those Python model files, we'll be migrating the data. We'll be migrating the database schema to our actual database, which is MySQL's database Spark09 that we just created. So the way to do that is, let's go to the README. So we have this create model command in which we need to give path to our YAML. So if I just copy and paste this, okay. So now we have our model created. I'll quickly show you what I mean by that. So if we go into the Spark09 folder, which is our model gen folder, we could see a folder called models in it, in which we have example.py file. Now, whatever structure we saw in this YAML, it's translated into a Python model file. So you could see the table name, example user table, we have columns ID, first name and last name. Similar for our second table, we have meta ID, address and contact, these three fields, for example, meta table. So what this create model command essentially is doing is it's translating this YAML into a Python model file under the hood. So our next order of business is to migrate this structure into our actual database. So for that, again, we can head to our README. We can copy paste this. So what this command is doing is, so it's model gen migrate revision. This is similar. You can think of it as Git for your databases. So you are tagging each and every action that you do with your database with a certain commit message. So let's say in this case, it's since it is our first commit, so we'll say initial database commit. We can pass the URL of our database using -p directive. And in case of, in our case, we have this database called Spark09. So if I do just this, now what I've done essentially is, I've done a git commit. I've executed a git commit command for our database. Now what I need to do essentially is to push these changes to the actual database. So we'll head back to the README. We'll copy the update command. We'll paste it. We change the database name. We hit enter and done. So now if we again head back to our database, and we hit refresh, we should be able to see those two tables, which are Alembic meta table and Alembic example user table and example meta table, with the structure that we wrote in our YAML file. So we have these three columns for the meta table. We have these three columns for our user table. Now what if I want to do any change? What if I want to, let's say for example, alter this first name? Let's say, so initially I set its length to be just 50. Let's say I want to increase it to say 100 or 150, right? How would I do that? Traditionally, what we used to do is go to SQL, write a lengthy alter table command. What we will be looking at now is just making a small change in the YAML file, resubmitting it to Model Gen, and those changes are automatically reflected in your database. So let's head back to a YAML file. We have our user table. Let's change the length of first name from 50 to 150. Let's save it. Let's run the commands again. So our first command is create model, which will translate our changes that we made in the YAML into Python code. So now if we go back to our Python code, those changes should be reflected. So if you could see here, this was 50 earlier, now it's 150. Now the second order of our business is to create a revision. So this revision will again be tagged with a commit message. So changed the length of first name column to 150. Now if I hit enter, a new revision should be created. And third and final thing would be to actually upgrade these changes or make these changes reflect in the database itself. So the last command we have is model gen migrate upgrade. So if we hit this, now all the changes that you made in the YAML file should be reflected in the database itself. Let's head back to the database. We have this user table. So I haven't refreshed it yet. So you could see it's 50. Once I refresh this, this 50 should be 150. Yeah, now it's refreshed, and we have the length of our first name column changed from 50 to 150, all done under the hood. All you had to do is just make a small change in this file, and that change is automatically reflected in your database just by issuing three simple commands. So that was it from me. Those were the two demos. Those were the two things I wanted to talk to you guys about. Any questions? Any questions? Any suggestions? Anything that comes to your mind?
I believe, yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Universe. It was like too much of code stuff for a QA mind, and but thank you so much for sharing all this stuff. It was like maybe I just have one thing. Maybe so is it possible like we can handle nested JSON also with this
Sorry.
YAML file itself? Can we handle nested JSON as well?
So the first issue I got was if people could use JSON as well alongside YAML. So that's what I'm working on right now. So I think it should be the feature should be in about a month from now. I'm already
Okay.
working on that.
Okay.
So
Okay.
instead of YAML, you can just write JSON files and you can
Mm-hmm.
submit the JSON files to Model Gen.
Okay.
And you can,
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Maybe in that case, so other than this, what are the future plan which you have for your tool then? Can you
so
just
the
let
future
us know?
plan is to make this tool integrable with the CI/CD pipelines, CI/CD
Mm-hmm.
tools in the marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
So so I think currently I'm targeting Circle CI on GitHub.
Okay.
So you can add these tool. You can add one step of Model Gen.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when you are in your testing pipeline, right, in your testing and deployment pipeline, right, you can have Model Gen as a step to create the database, to fill the database with some dummy data,
Okay.
to test your code on the dummy data, and build the test results. So
Okay.
if
Okay.
this is your CI/CD pipeline, if
Mm-hmm.
this is your deployment pipeline, right? So you
Okay.
can
Okay.
have Fusion embedded into one of these steps, so
Mm-hmm.
that your database creation and all of those things are taken care of.
Okay. Good. And let's see if we have any questions. Okay, maybe right now. It's right now. We need to digest this, and then only we can ask some questions to you. So
Okay.
it's fine. And maybe you can just explain the story, like what made you to create this tool or utility, like what were the challenges and your real-time project challenges, what made you to develop this. And like last time as before, we still have that noise disturbance right now, Srinivas. It was better when you were talking, but right now it's
Okay, I think I should keep continuously talking. When I'm not, I should.
okay. Then please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and share your story.
Yeah. So I came up with this idea for this model gen utility because I faced this problem on a project. The problem I had was I had to write that Python model code myself. The Python files that we saw, which were translated from YAML. So I had to write those Python files. I had to maintain those Python files. We had to push that code somewhere so that there is a version history. So with this Alchemy Model Gen, let me quickly share my screen for one last time.
No problem.
It won't be much technical,
No, no, no. But
but
it
that
was it
is
was
what
interesting.
we
Anyways, we should learn it, right? So,
so so if you see this structure, right? So what my utility is also doing implicitly is it's keeping track of all the versions for all the changes that we have made.
mm-hmm.
So in this Spark 09 folder, right, you would see a folder called versions.
Okay.
So by far we did two commits, right? The first commit was the initial one,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you have a history of that initial commit,
Mm-hmm.
and the second commit where we changed the length of first name column from 50 to 150, right?
Okay.
That change is also here. So you can switch between versions. Let's say you change the length of first name column from 50 to 150,
Mm-hmm.
and then you realize that no, 50 was just enough.
Okay.
150 is too much. So you can always go back to this version, again using model gen as a command. You can go through model gen production to get a list of all the things you could do with it. So you could do basically everything. You can time travel, you can switch back and forth in versions. You can alter your tables, you can create schemas, you can create any number of tables that you want using this
Okay.
model BI. So coming back to your question, right? So the problem I faced was that I had to do all these things manually. I had to write Python model files, and I had to manage these files. So managing one YAML file is way more easier for me than managing 100 Apache files or 100 files. So that was the inspiration for building this utility. And
Okay. Perfect. And maybe we have a question from Ramona. Which CI/CD pipelines? Like maybe you already said you are planning to use it. So what are the tools which you already have it in your mind for your future plans?
so currently it's just Circle CI right now. Circle CI or Bamboo maybe would be something I would be interested in.
Okay.
But even if I'm not able to do integrations, right, adding this utility into your pipeline is very simple. You can
Oh.
just do pip install Alchemy Model Gen.
Mm-hmm.
You can put those three commands in a shell file, in a shell script, and you can add that shell script as a part of your pipeline itself.
Oh. Okay.
So it's very simple. So just do pip install, that will install Alchemy Model Gen.
Mm-hmm.
And the three commands that we just executed.
Okay.
So if you embed these two commands into a shell script, you can add that shell script to your CI/CD step as one of your CI/CD step, and then you can run your program.
Okay, perfect. Maybe once you have your enhanced version also ready, you can give a like one other demo for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. And I think that's all. We don't have any more questions, Srinivas. Maybe I will just try to wrap it off. And I would really like to thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and for even for the utility you developed. You have invested your time based on your problem statement. You came up with an innovative solution, which is not only going to help you, just going to help other people also who are going to have or who will be facing the same problem statement. So that is really kind of you. Thank you so much for doing that, and we really appreciate that kind of good heart which you have. And thank you so much for giving a brief demo to all of the people. And of course, this is going to stay forever as one of the good knowledge source. I really swear on that. And once again, thank you so much, Srinivas. Do you have anything to add on it?
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and thank you so much for allowing me to present whatever I've built. Um, so yeah, looking
Okay,
forward to
perfect.
more. Hope the next time won't be this much technical.
Perfect. Thank you so much once again, Srinivas. It's good to have you here. And right now, it's the closing ceremony. So, of course, when we are nearing the session, it's time to thank all our sponsors. So, Amplitudes, AxleQ, Lambda Test, Test Sigma, Mute Test, and Test Project. Thank you so much, guys. Without you all, we couldn't have made it all through this way. And we really appreciate your help. And this is all about us. So these are the social handles. Please do check it out, all these links, and please also go ahead and maybe for your weekend plan, have allot some time and read all those super read articles which is in the launch. And these are the social handles. You know where to find us. And thank you once again for the person who are joining today. And right now we have a demo video for you. Just hold on a minute.
Let's look into a quick demo of XLQ platform. XLQ is a test automation and test management platform that enables in-sprint automation and really accelerates the complete automation lifecycle. It's completely browser-based, offered on cloud as well as on-premise. We'll go through this demo and cover capabilities across each of these process areas, starting from test design, test development, test planning and management, execution tracking, and reporting and integrations. XLQ is the only platform that brings all these phases of quality together, bridging these silos to really get the speed needed for continuous delivery. We also seamlessly integrate with ecosystems of tool that I'll cover in the demo. Okay, let's log into the platform now. The entire automation lifecycle is driven through this universe. It's a visual map of the application. XLQ challenges the traditional script-based black box repository approach. As you see with XLQ, you can simply visualize the application flow, test scenarios that directly relate to your business processes. And these tests are modularized automatically by reusing pages and user actions, again from a very end user functional standpoint. I'm sure you'll resonate with me. Traditional tools and custom framework approaches have way too much overhead and limit the scalability and ROI of automation. XLQ's automated design first approach inherently brings that reusability and usually brings down the maintenance. Let's look into one of these step details. Automation is natural language based, needing no programming or scripting. The screen recording with views coupled with natural language editor provides the capability to handle any validations. It's designed similar to IntelliSense, and adopting it is a breeze. And it's pretty powerful. It can handle any level of complex business rule verifications. XLQ also innovated functional UI virtualization, which enables you to abstract and write complete automation logic even when your application is under development. And this logic is not just UI. Right from here, you can do your API tests, database validations, messaging services, file interactions, you name it. The front end and back end can be done in the same flow, enabling true end-to-end validations. The technology stack and protocols supported are easily extendable and in your control. The marketplace is ever expanding with XLQ support varied application portfolio for large enterprise customers. Quick side note, check out our specialized solutions for ERP applications, the likes of Salesforce, Oracle, SAP, Pega, etc. You'll be pleasantly surprised with the simplicity XLQ handles their complications. May it be Angular, iframes, mainframe, what have you. Let's also quickly look at the next level where kind of rubber hits the road. Element handling, as you know, is one of the core aspects of automation and has long made automation easy to break and brittle. Especially with the fast-paced nature of application changes these days, this is where XLQ kind of really excels. Platform has a unique capability to interact with elements utilizing its DOM with an algorithmic approach to find the best combination of attributes. It does all the hard work for you, but yet gives you the flexibility and the visibility to make further robust. This Element Explorer can handle your dynamic data and elements with ease. For keeping this demo short, I'll skip those details for a deep dive demo and a free trial you can sign up for. XLQ's element handling also packs in AI-based self-healing, which handles some of the dev changes by auto-fixing the interactions at runtime. The data-driven tests are handled pretty neatly for test scenarios. With test data grid, ability to import from Excel, and even auto-generating permutations and combinations. Now to drive all these core automation capabilities home is the XLQ's test suite and planning module. With its seamless integration to the likes of Jira, TFS, you can create test suites that are user story based or change based, module based, and so on. Here's an example of upcoming sprint suite. It also shows me coverage achieved, execution, and development status so far. The referential integrities across universe enables test suites to be automatically created, ensuring the accurate coverage, a very mathematical and transparent approach to test planning, and as you can guess, the efficiencies it can bring to your process. Execution of tests can be real-time, scheduled, or integrated with your CI workflow with any tool of your choice, may it be Jenkins, TeamCity, Bamboo. You can execute dynamically against different environments, many OS and browser combinations with parallel executions. You can execute in cloud or locally with XLQ Local Agent. Tracking results, slicing and dicing them by user stories, priorities, whatever your process and organization follows, the results can be viewed with similar simplicity in simple English, with a complete recording of screen flows. You can create defects right from here in Jira or any other defect tracking tool with the results and screenshots automatically attached. I can keep going on, but let's keep this one short. Hopefully you got an overview into the breadth of the product. The depth is best explored in trying it out. We also help in running a proof of concept on your application to help you kind of evaluate and decide. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for who will join me. Thank you once again, Srinivas, and looking forward for your upcoming versions of tools. And we really wish you best in your career. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, people.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening. Have a great day.
Thank you.